I think we'll start off then with our step list. And let's start with our basic, in our 4-count hustle. This is what we'd start our class or our private students with. And as we did before, it's forward, in place, back, in place. Forward, in place, back, in place. And that's our basic in what we call 2-hand open position. Some teachers do call this 4-hand position, but it seems to me and to the students that if I take the girl like this, that seems like a 1-hand lead or a 1-hand hold or 1-hand position, and this we call 2-hand position. All right, now we'll progress to step 2, which would be our right and our left turns. Now, for instance, we'll start with the basic 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we do a right turn and another right turn. And notice we're not turning a half turn that first time. We turn approximately a third of a turn. A third of a turn, we tell the student to face that corner of the room, and then face that corner of the room, and now come back home. That would be our right turn. Third of the turn, it takes 3 to get around. All right, now we do a right turn, turning out a third, but the more conventional half turn. So we start with a basic 1, 2, 3, 4. We turn a half turn and a half turn, like that. All right? Now, by the way, in accomplishing the step, what is happening is that the girl steps perfectly straight on the count of 1 and seems to get her turn toward the count of 2 and then rock, rock. Whereas the gentleman gets his turn right in the beginning on the count of 1. So she goes straight and then turns, the gentleman turns and then goes back on the step. That would be the right turn. Now the left turns, we do the same thing with the third of a turn. We start with our basic, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a third of a turn facing that corner of the room, a third of the turn facing that corner, and now coming back home like this. All right? Now that's that. Now let's try a half turn. All right? The half turn and the half turn. Back home like this. Now let's see, actually just the opposite thing occurs here. Whereas before the girl went straight and the gentleman turned right on the count of 1, just the opposite will be true here. On the left turn, the girl gets the turn on the count of 1, where the gentleman goes fairly straight on that count of 1. All right? With one exception, the gentleman actually, when he does the step, first we teach that they do go straight, but then we modify it and say, by the way, gentlemen, what you're supposed to do in your dancing is sort of keep your eye on the girl as she does her step. So we're going to suggest you sort of lean slightly to the left, therefore your left foot will be angling toward the girl as you take your step, like this. So it isn't perfectly straight, it tends to angle slightly through the girl, like that. All right, then our little routine that we would teach at this point, we would do a basic, and then we'd do a third of a turn to the right, third of a turn to the right, third of a turn, then a basic, then a third of a turn to the left, a third of a turn to the left, and then we come back to our basic, and then we do 2 right turns, 2 right turns, this. Now that represents 2 lessons so far in our classes. We, on the first lesson, taught the basic step and the right turns, and now in the second lesson we taught the left turns and then that little routine at the end. By the way, you're assisting me all the time and teaching some of the classes yourself, Christina, so if you can think of something I left out or leave out as we're progressing, tell me about it, okay?